I, nearly adult male, went to therapy when I was a tween. My dad sat me down before sending me and told me he was worried about me and our family, that I didn't seem to be taking him remarrying and having half-siblings well, and that he was worried I would end up isolating myself in the future, and hurt my half-siblings when they realised I clearly favoured my full-blood siblings over them. He asked me to give therapy a go to see if I could find a way to process Mum not being there, move on to fully accept my half-siblings, and maybe even see my stepmom as something more than his wife. I told him I'd go. The first therapist was a bust. She spent the whole session talking about religion. Dad didn't send me back. The second therapist was different. He saw that therapy wasn't something I was totally comfortable with, and he set me up with a therapy diary. He told me to call it my therapy notebook, my therapy scrapbook, or whatever made it feel the most comfortable for me. But he told me I could write stuff I couldn't express out loud. He also told me I could write something to discuss in future sessions. In early sessions, I wrote a lot about missing my mom and the family we should have, and how things would never be the same. Then, after a while, I also wrote down how I felt. Things like my half-siblings could never mean as much to me as my full siblings because my full siblings and I share our parents, and there was this more natural bond. I wrote how I didn't think I would ever love my half-siblings, but I still thought they were part of my family and I hoped they'd have good lives. There were some notes in it about how something happened and I missed Mom, and I wish my dad's wife and half-siblings could go so we could get Mom back. That was written 3 or 4 times. There was also a page where I talked about how I wanted a tattoo of the family I wanted us to be, and how that wouldn't include my dad's wife or my half-siblings. I did 3 years of therapy, then ended it and threw the diary out. But Dad fished it out of the trash bin and decided to keep it. Then he read it. Then showed his wife. Then they left it where the kids found it and read it. Now everything has gone crazy. My dad confronted me and we argued because he told me I'd written some very unfair things. I told him therapy can't always change how you feel, just how you act. He said he didn't send me to therapy to act the part. I told him he was getting off the point and should never have read the diary, shared it, etc. He said that he was my father and he had a right to read it. I told him that the diary wasn't his business and should never have been family reading. He told me that was a poor point to make when I wrote that my half-siblings were unlovable or simply having the wrong mother. We're not talking now, but he made it clear I was wrong here. Am I the idiot for telling my dad my therapy journal was never meant to be family reading? Not the idiot. The most toxic things parents do in these situations is share the journal with the kids. It really does nothing good for the family dynamic, especially when the parent so desperately craves to share it with the kids. It would have still been disrespectful for him to read it, as he seems to forget they were private thoughts. But for him to let the whole family read it is something else entirely. This is a violation of trust, and you are in no way wrong for writing down how you felt. Your dad is a major idiot. If you were to blame for anything, it was for not destroying the book totally. However, your father should still have respected your privacy. Just adding here, I don't think the kids finding the diary was unintentional. They, Dad and Stepmom, must have put it so the kids will see and read it. Forcing OP into therapy with specific behavioural goals that he laid out from the beginning. I don't know how actively malicious the dad is, but I'm getting major controlling and manipulative vibes from how OP describes his actions. What a sleaze. OP, your father sent you to therapy to fix you, so you'd be and act the way he wanted. Exactly. Oh my god, what the heck. So very sorry you're dealing with this. Now your dad has turned your whole family against you for normal tween blended family feelings. Your dad is the one that needs therapy. Who the heck does this to their child? Everyone else's feelings are more important than yours. Who in their right mind would let everyone else read that? Holy cow, what a violation of trust. I can't even imagine. Can he move in with a grandparent or something? This is insane. I, nearly adult male, live with my family in a 3-bedroom house. My parents have the master bedroom, my brother, 23, used to have the second largest room, and me, being the youngest, had the small bedroom for most of my life. When my brother got married, he and his wife got their own place. They were renting and are now building their own house, but that won't be ready till next year, so to save up for the construction, they temporarily moved back in. The thing is, I moved my things to the larger room that used to be his once he left home. There's more space for my stuff and I'm settled there. Now that he's back, he asked me to return to my old room. I said I wouldn't. He says I should understand they are 2 people and I'm only 1, so they need the extra space more than I do, and also that he had that room for years. I said tough luck. He even tried to get our parents involved since it's their house, but my father said he wouldn't get in the middle of this and that we should work things out between ourselves. My brother did get to my mother, however. She didn't ask me to vacate the room, but said I should be more understanding of my brother. My sister-in-law is also angry at me. She didn't say anything, but I can tell from how she acts. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He moved out. He's not entitled to anything. He's getting a favour provided to him while his home is being built. He should just stay in the smaller room and be thankful. You live in this room, and they need it for only several months. They can live in small rooms since it's just temporary shelter. This cheeky beggar. He's not in a position to ask for such a concession when a massive concession has already been made for them. Stick to your guns, OP. If your mom pressures you, ask why she doesn't give up her room. The temporary element of it is really a key here. As a kid, I, the youngest, finally inherited the better bedroom after my last sibling moved out. I was thrilled. A few months later, I was gone for a weekend, and we happened to have a foreign exchange student moving in. Unbeknownst to me, my mom moved all my stuff out of my room back to my old one, so the exchange student could have mine. I was an angry 13-year-old for all the months students lived with us. Mostly I was upset because my mum didn't just ask me to do it before I left to go out of town. The room change was annoying, but worse was the feeling of my privacy being invaded since she went through all my stuff to move it. Hopi, just be careful not to engage when your brother or sister-in-law tries to get under your skin about it. I disagree. You are the idiot. You're being very short-sighted about how you will negatively impact your relationship 1, 2, or even 10 years from now. You basically indicated that your old room is barely big enough for you, and you expect it to be big enough for 2 dressers, a bed large enough for 2 adults to sleep in, and closet space for 2 people. Clearly your old room isn't a valid option for your brother and his wife. There are consequences to what you're doing. Being nice leaves an impression. Being crappy leaves a much bigger impression that people rarely forget. Well, that goes both ways. The older brother is equally responsible for the future impact on their relationship and is an actual adult. Expecting a teenager to graciously give you something that's theirs because you want it and feel entitled to it, not consistent with how teenagers work, or anyone really. I, male 34, moved in with my girlfriend, soon-to-be fiancée, Cornelia, 31. I knew from day one that English wasn't her native language. She's a Polish immigrant, and that she also speaks Polish and Spanish, but I hadn't realised how much those 2 languages affected her life. I mean, she speaks English on a daily basis and is fluent, and her work life is solely in English, so you can't blame me for not realising it. We moved in and suddenly other languages found their way to creep into our lives. Her Netflix is full of foreign movies, and her music is often foreign. She wants to talk about movies from Poland or Latin America that I have no interest in and don't want to watch with subtitles. I never know what language I will encounter when I come home. One day she'll watch the news in Spanish, the next it'll be in English, only to switch to Polish. It's infuriating. I sat her down and explained to her that it makes me incredibly uncomfortable that there are a lot of things in our house that I cannot understand, and I asked her if she could please tone it down. She asked me what I meant, and I explained again that she should listen to English music and movies to discuss them and watch them together. I expected her to take it on board, listen to me, and try to make me more comfortable in my own house. So you can imagine my surprise when she said, "You've got to be kidding me." I told her that there was nothing inappropriate about my request, and she would be selfish if she continued to do things that make me uncomfortable. For all I know, she could be watching some awful stuff, but I wouldn't know about it because she can just hide it. She basically called me an idiot in more than one language, and told me she had to think and went to spend the night with her friend. I said to think carefully because it's a small request and she should be more accommodating instead of alienating me in my own house. Instead, she ignored me and slammed the door to the bedroom to go and pack. Now she's left, and I worry that perhaps she was right. Perhaps I overreacted and should have sucked it up and tried to approach it slowly, one language at a time. Am I the idiot for approaching it so directly? You are the idiot. I'm so proud of your girlfriend for not putting up with your insecure, borderline racist BS and just leaving. Good for her. If someone watching the news in Spanish infuriates you, you probably have some sort of personality disorder because that is some antisocial behavior. This controlling BS is the marinara of red flags. In my own home here is telling. It's also her home and she deserves to connect with her culture in the comfort of her own home if she has to use English the rest of the time. Sorry you're insecure, OP, but this is just kinda embarrassing. OMG, I love your girlfriend. I hope she pulled out her dictionary and said, "You gotta be kidding," in at least 5 new languages. Dude, really? Your request was wildly out of order and demonstrated a really weird, controlling or anxious streak. Were you worried she was watching awful stuff? You aren't ready for this relationship. Get a therapist. Apologize to your girlfriend and find a new place to live. My wife, 28, and I, male 28, have been together for 3 years, married for nearly 1. Our first anniversary is in 2 months, and she's pregnant with our first baby, 10 weeks. Honestly, I was always very close to my family and friends, so I'm used to telling people I love them or being open with my feelings. It's not weird at all to me. My wife knows that, and that was something that she liked about me, being open to expressing my feelings. Up until now, it's never been an issue. However, her family wasn't as good at dealing with feelings, so they weren't as open to feelings. Well, it was my birthday 2 days ago. We did a very small family gathering with just our closest family and friends since my wife is uncomfortable with the pregnancy. My sister-in-law, 24, came to my party. When she arrived at the house, she wished me a happy birthday and gave me a box with a gift. I thanked her and opened it. This was in front of everyone, we weren't hiding or anything. It was a book that I honestly loved and was looking forward to having for a long time. I commented on this at family gatherings a couple of times. I obviously was very happy and excited to finally have it, so I hugged her, I said thanks again and told her I loved her. No one in my family was surprised, they didn't react at all, but her family did, and so did my wife. Even my sister-in-law was shocked. After that, things were a bit awkward, like I could tell my wife was angry over something but didn't know exactly what. And my sister-in-law kept looking at me, and so did my in-laws. After everyone left, my wife exploded. She calls me an idiot for embarrassing her this way in front of everyone. I was like, what? Because I honestly thought nothing of it. She told me it was because I told sister-in-law I love her and she's very embarrassed because of that. I told her she knew I was open with my feelings and I was also very happy with the gift. Still, she reminded me of something we'd discussed some time ago regarding her sister and told me I shouldn't have said that to her because of that. We argued and she cried because she was hurt and embarrassed. I told her okay and I apologized, but she was still angry. Was I really such an idiot because of this? Info. She reminded me of something we'd discussed some time ago regarding her sister and told me because of that, I shouldn't have said that to her. What's in the box? I mean, what did you discuss? This seems extremely key to any decision here. Could you elaborate more? I didn't know this was going to be such an important detail. My wife thinks sister-in-law has a crush on me, but I don't believe that's true. I don't believe it's true because all she's heard about is a rumor her cousin told her about. We didn't discuss this with her sister or confirm this being true besides what some people have told her. I don't want to ignore her feelings, but I also think she shouldn't damage her relationship with her sister because of rumors. You are the idiot, because, damn, the detail that the sister might be into you is kinda important, dude. It changes the entire complexion of the interchange, especially with you knowing that she might be into you. Very much not cool now and a bit shady you tried to hide that. Oh, and he didn't think it was an important detail, in his own words. He left out a very important key detail. His wife believes his sister has a crush on him. He essentially just told someone who his wife probably knows way better than him, and who she believes holds romantic feelings for him, that he loves her. Even if it's platonic on his end doesn't mean that it was interpreted as such on sister-in-laws, as evidenced by the huge reaction wife and her entire family had. So I, 45 male, have a son Callum, teen, with my ex-wife Amanda. We had an amicable divorce when Callum was 2 and so far we've been co-parenting quite well. Now, I could say a lot of things about Amanda's parenting, but the long and short of it is that she and her new husband cater their parenting style to their 2 younger kids together, tween female and pre-tween male. Because of this, he's decreased his time at their house since he got the choice, and now spends every other weekend there. Around a month ago, Amanda and her husband made a reading rule for the kids. The pre-tween has to read 30 minutes a day, the tween has to read for an hour, and Callum has to read for 2 hours. I have no idea why they did this. I think it's because the youngest is falling behind in his reading level and they wanted to keep things fair between the kids. I think that this is ridiculous, as Callum is a very smart kid already and he needs that time for homework and relaxing since he doesn't have that much free time. Amanda told me she expected me to enforce the reading rule when Callum was at my house. I told her that I wouldn't. She said it was unfair to Callum's half-siblings that he could just leave for my house and not have to follow the rule, while they had to follow it no matter what. I told her tough luck, it's my house and I make the rules, not her. Now Callum is thinking about not staying with her anymore due to the increasing strictness of her and her husband's rules. She told me that it was all my fault that he didn't want to be around her anymore because I was so lax with the rules. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right here, but I thought it might be a good idea to get some perspective. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So how many hours a day are she and her husband reading? They should lead by example, and being full-grown adults, they should be reading for 4 hours per day, you know, to keep it fair. Requiring your kid to read 2 hours a day on top of required textbook reading and assigned English class reading seems like a good way to inspire dislike for the hobby. This is ridiculous. 2 hours of reading on top of potentially hours of homework every day? She's damaging her relationship with him and pushing him away, and that's sad but on her. I get reading is great for the younger kids, it's a skill they need to develop. But if the youngest starts falling behind in math, will Callum have to do 2 hours of math worksheets to make things fair between them? Fairness isn't bringing everyone down or holding everyone back to the lowest performance level. Blanket restrictions for the sake of one child is laziness and favoritism.